There is no antidote. 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 There is no antidote.
Allergies are a problem. Hay fever, peanut allergies, eczema. Most of us have an allergy to something, but what causes them and why do they seem to be getting worse? And why do some allergies kill you? Meet medical anthropologist Theresa MacPhail. She is herself an allergy sufferer and lost her father to a bee sting. It doesn't make sense that a part of our immune system meant to protect us goes haywire, so she set out to find answers. By starting in 1819, you know it's going to be good when we start digging in history. She starts with dangerous experiments of early immunologists and moves to the mind-bending recent immunotherapies. And she gets her hands dirty along the way. No thought experiments here. MacPhail scaled a roof with an air quality controller who diligently counts pollen by hand for hours every day, met a mother who struggled to use WIC benefits for her daughter with severe food allergies, spoke with doctors at some of the finest allergy clinics in the world, and discussed the intersecting problems of climate change, pollution, and pollen with biologists who study seasonal respiratory allergies.
Hello, peculiars. How is everybody doing? I know I'm not the face you expect to start the show. Brandy is in New York City. She is filming, I believe, for the History Channel right now. So don't worry, she's not going big time on us. We're still her first love. Hi, Kristen. Hi, everybody checking in. I see the comments. We got Kristen checking in from Seattle. We got Jennifer checking in from Minnesota. The Nature Channel, Gats Nature Channel said hi. And Ryan checking into Brandy. We're still her first love, but it's really cool that she gets to do these things. And we know someone, like when you watch those documentaries and those videos on the History Channel, and you can say, I actually know that person. Like I talk to that person on a regular basis. That's pretty cool. So I can't wait to hear. She's going to be back for our October episode, our big Halloween episode. So we're doing her books. She has to be here. So I can't wait to hear about her journey and what she's been filming. But we are here to talk about the book Allergic. And we have a very special guest with us. Please help me welcome Theresa MacPhail. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
I was on the wrong layout. Welcome, Theresa. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I told her about everything we do, some of the elements of the show, but I didn't tell you we have a claymation open.
No, I loved it. I was smiling away. It was amazing.
So the book Allergic, I'm sure now everybody comes up to you and tells you what they're allergic to, right? At this point in your life.
Yes.
Right? It's almost like a confessional.
It is a confessional. It really is. I'm the high priestess of allergy.
So go ahead. We're not going to stop you in the chat. Go ahead. You can put in the chat what you're allergic to. And obviously, without Brandy here, we're going to lean on you even more tonight, Peculiar. So fill up the comments with chats. I told her how much this is an audience-driven show. So all your questions about whether it's the treatments and the things in the book that she discusses, or your own stories with allergies or anything like that, we'll kind of get into all of it. So the first question is Brandy usually asks is kind of what inspired you to write the book, but you kind of in the first chapter pretty much lay it all on the line. So some of the times the Peculiars have read the book all the way through. Sometimes they've read a little bit. Sometimes they just are really interested in the topic. So can you tell us kind of what started this journey for you?
Sure. I mean, it's interesting because my father died of a bee sting in 1996, and he was in his car at a stop sign, and it was late summer, and he happened to have his window rolled down, and a bee, just on its normal flight trajectory, flew in the window and stung him in the neck. And he had been stung a few weeks before. And for those of you who have read the book already, you already know that each subsequent sting produces a stronger immune response. So unfortunately for my father, that second sting, and he might have had earlier stings prior to that in his life, he started going into anaphylaxis, which is a process that your immune system begins in response to an antigen entering your system. And it's basically a 5-alarm fire where your immune cells are releasing histamine and causing a lot of problems, which some of you are familiar with. You take antihistamines, so it produces the snot and the mucus that you are used to with your normal allergies. It also can constrict your airways because it affects the smooth muscle around your lungs. So that's why people have trouble breathing during anaphylactic attacks. And it also widens your blood vessels. So your immune cells can get to where they are needed, but if you're sitting upright, that can cause problems for your heart. So unfortunately, my dad was sitting upright. He was behind the wheel of the car, and he just did all of this within 30 minutes. He was unfortunately dead within 30 minutes of this process starting. You'd think that I would get into allergies right away after that, but I didn't, because I was still very young. I was 24. Most of us, when we're 24, we don't know what we're doing.
No, we do not.
And it was such a surprise. I mean, no one expects to get a phone call. In my case, I got a phone call from the state police saying, we're sorry, we have some sad news for you.
Yeah.
And it just was so shocking. And I kind of put it in the back of my mind. But every time I would see a bee or a wasp, of course, I would feel panicked and paranoid, because I always wondered in the back of my head, am I also allergic?
Yeah.
And then fast forward to around 2015, I'm a new professor. And for any of you who work with kids or of any age, you know that they're petri dishes and you get sick all the time. I mean, parents out there also know this.
The peculiars know. I have 3 kids under or 3 and under at this house. So yeah, we're going through it.
So my first year as a professor, I got sick a lot. And my general practitioner was like, you're getting sick a little bit too much. I'm going to go send you to a specialist because something's up. And she sent me to an ENT, an ears, nose, throat specialist. And the guy scoped me, which for those of you who don't know, they stick a camera up your nose to see what's going on.
Very comfortable procedure.
Very comfortable procedure. And right in the middle of looking around my nasal cavities, he goes, I see your problem. You have allergies. You have really bad allergies. And I said, what? Because I was not a person who thought of myself as having allergies. I didn't really ever have sneezing fits. I didn't really feel it that much. But he was looking directly at evidence that, yes, indeed, I did have allergies. So this started a whole journey for me about questions about, well, maybe I did inherit this from my dad. Maybe this is a direct result of my genetics. What else could it have been? How many people? And so I started talking to people about, hey, I found out I had allergies. And that's when I started getting the confessions. People would be like, well, here's my allergy story. And then I started thinking about, isn't it interesting that all of these people I know have allergies, but no one talks about it? How did I not know that so many people have this issue?
We all suffer in silence, right? We all got a lot of Kleenex in our pocket, and we just shrug through our day.
And the gamut, people telling me about their eczema, people telling me about their allergic asthma, people telling me about their food allergies.
We've got the first one in the chat. Leanne says she's allergic to guinea pigs.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. They're so cute. You're probably allergic to their dander, which is pretty normal. That's why people are allergic to cats and dogs, horses, other things. It's the skin cells and or the saliva cells, not to get gross, but it's from licking and then flaking off. So basically I just started asking these questions, and then I went looking for answers. And it's not that those answers weren't available, but they weren't available in a form that most people find accessible. And most of these answers were in academic form. And I was just shocked that no one had ever written a history of allergy, because I had questions about, like, well, is this a modern problem, or, have we always had allergies? Are they getting worse? And I couldn't find anything. And luckily I have a lot of smart friends. And one of them said, hey, aren't you a medical anthropologist? Can't you write? And I was like, oh, that's right.
Right. I have a background in this. That's right.
I could do this. So that's how it all began, is I got curious, and then I started finding out the answers.
By the way, Ryan says, get gross. Believe me, there's nothing you could say that this group hasn't heard. We're ready for it. Okay, so I actually have a question that spins off of that. But as the Peculiars know, we got to do our announcements at the top of the show here. So as the comments continue to come in, I see some good ones piling up. Just the announcements to remind everybody, we are on all the social medias. And yes, I replaced that Twitter icon with a blue sky icon, because that's where Brandy posts a lot. Also, the Facebook group is the best way to really be a part of the conversation and be a part of the group. There's some great posts and great conversations on there. But Goodreads, all that stuff are ways to connect with us, as you can see at the top. The newsletter, subscribing to Brandy's newsletter. And for our audio listeners, these links are in the show notes on all your podcasting apps. Not only do you get informed on the show, and things like the cocktail recipe comes in the newsletter, but you get a little bit of Brandy's writing. She always writes some fun stuff at the beginning of each newsletter. So make sure you're subscribing to the newsletter. I know for you live listeners, I'm pretty much preaching to the choir here, but for everybody else that watches and listens, it's a great way to hear from Brandy. And speaking of the people watching live, a lot of you are our VIP members, and we are now on PayHip. We had a switch from PayPal. Was it PayPal was the one before? We are now on PayHip. Again, the link is in the show notes. But for as little as $5, you become a VIP. And Brandy, believe me, she's blowing me up. She's texting me. She is constantly thinking of new and innovative things that would make you really, really want to be a VIP member. So she's got some really cool stuff in store. You can come backstage and be in the green room with the authors before the show starts from time to time. And obviously cool swag for the show. So make sure you check out the PayHip link and consider joining as a VIP member. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the book cocktail. We actually do a contest to name the book cocktail. And Happy Histamine to You was the chosen name. This one looks fun, a fruity drink there with hibiscus leaves in it. I'm guessing that's the maybe people are allergic to hibiscus. Mint
I mean,
leaf?
if it's existing, it's capable for you to have accidentally imprinted on it. So yeah, sure.
There you go. But there's your personal cocktail inspired by your book. And then last but not least, the Peculiar Movie Club has taken a bit of a hiatus. We do a little bit of a bonus content for our audio listeners. We do a movie podcast themed around our books. Yes, we've taken our summer hiatus. I promise you podcasts are coming. I will give you a spoiler right now. Me and Darren are going to have an amazing conversation about the movie Milk, which was themed for Brandy's book, The Intermediaries. We are not going to have a great conversation for the movie Wag the Dog, which was themed around Stories Are Weapons, because I watched it, and I think it is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. So I'll discuss it briefly on the episode we do for Milk, but we're coming back. There'll be new movies, and we're getting in that time of year. I can't believe we're getting a spooky season. Have you started decorating your house yet for Halloween? Are you one of those people that starts in September, or?
I love Halloween, but I focus on my costumes.
There you go.
So yeah, we have started that process.
There you go. And so they always pick a scary movie for us to watch. And we're only doing one episode in October, and it's at the end of October. So I think I'm going to post that on the Facebook group. So we'll put some post up there, and you can make movie recommendations on that post and tell me what spooky movie you think me and Darren should watch this year. So that's what's going on in Peculiar Movie Club land. So, all right, back to the questions here. Kristen first said she was a little concerned with the length of the audiobook, but was captivated the whole time. So no problem at all. I'm also an audiobook listener, so I understand, Kristen.
I actually didn't realize it was that long. They asked me if I wanted to do it, and now seeing that, I'm very grateful I let an actress do it.
Yeah. It's a challenge. I've produced an audiobook and edited an audiobook, and like you have to be mean. You have to be like, no, the inflection wasn't right on that. Say it again, like Jennifer says, I am one of many parents annoyed with the AAP after religiously keeping nuts, etc. from my
Oh,
kids for the first few years. Yes, they both have allergies. We go through a lot of Zyrtec.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the saddest stories. I mean, I'm glad that we know now that the advice we were giving people, 5, 10, 15 years ago was wrong. But it did accidentally, it especially created more food allergies. So there have been studies, there was a secondary study that proved Gideon Lack's original study done in the UK correct in Australia, that earlier introduction of allergens is better for the young immune system in order to train it that it's actually okay. Now, that being said, it still can be scary for parents to introduce allergens because, for some people it's protective, meaning like the rates go down with early introduction, but it doesn't work for everyone. So some people are still going to have the reaction, and those reactions can be kind of scary for parents. So it's been a really interesting switcheroo. And of course, people don't like it when advice changes because it really affects the trust level. But as we know more, we do better. So that's what I say to people, like, we know more, so we're doing better.
Yeah, I'd say we're currently in a bit of a crisis with trusting medical advice being thrown at us right now.
Completely, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't do a great job with talking about how science really works. And, I think people are getting better now, but doctors and scientists also don't always do a great job talking about what they don't know and talking about those uncertainties. So, it can sound very certain when you're getting advice as a parent, like, no, you should absolutely avoid all allergens until they're over 2 years old or over 3 years old. And you think, well, they know for sure. And then when, 5 years goes by and suddenly it changes, it can be quite a jarring experience for people. And also, you've been told this whole time that you shouldn't, and now suddenly you should. And so you're like, well, it unfortunately creates a lot of confusion for people. And I completely understand that. And like I said, it can also be really scary to introduce your young ones to these allergens because sometimes they are going to have a little bit of a reaction or a big reaction. And then, I talk about this in the book. A lot of people have a lot of guilt, especially parents, because they're like, oh, is this something I did? Or you gave your kid a little bit of peanut because now that's the recommendation. And then you end up in the ER and you're like, why did I do that? I mean, it's tricky.
I remember peanuts were the one, like introducing peanut butter, introducing peanuts to the kids was the one that was like, you're kind of holding your breath on, but you got to do it.
You got to do it.
Yeah. But I've also been on the other side. I've rushed my kids to the emergency room before. So I know all the feelings that the parents go through. It's, you just gotta hang in there. Yeah. Let's see here. Leanne said, I worked at a winery for 15 years. I believe the stories about red wine and health problems. Histamines, sulfites, tannins are more prevalent in red grapes. Is this
it is a thing because unfortunately, sadly, some cheeses make your allergies worse for the same reason that they have histamines in them, or I forget. Oh God, see, I should have because I don't know what we're going to talk about. I forget if it's soft cheeses or hard cheeses that are more. You could do a quick Google search.
I feel like soft cheeses, yeah.
I feel like it is soft cheese, but I don't want to. I don't want to. Somebody out there is Googling it right now. I just know one of you peculiars is on top of this.
This is the thing I do in the background usually, so it's okay. They'll just have to watch me do it live.
Yeah, so you can actually affect your your immune system by some of the things you eat, by what it contains. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm getting Google AI results here, so we're not even going to trust those.
Yeah,
We'll skip those.
We'll
I was
skip
gonna,
it.
I was going to say, so the current administration, I'll just say it, is giving terrible medical advice. But
Yes.
it has the allergy sector of healthcare really been affected by that? I feel like that kind of hasn't been touched yet, has it?
Okay. Well, I've never talked about this before, so you guys are going to hear me talk about something new that I don't usually talk about. When I was writing the book, when I was talking to regular people about allergies, I did get a lot of questions about vaccines. So because of the immune system connection, a lot of people were like, well, is this a vaccine issue? And there's absolutely no evidence that vaccines have changed our immune system and caused it to be more allergenic. Like, there's just no evidence of that. But there is a nervousness around it. So I feel like we talk a lot more about the immune system today than we ever have in the past. Like 20 years ago, if you ask most people, what's the role of, what's a B cell or what's a T cell? Most people are not going to know, even though we had HIV, even though, there were reasons to know what a T cell was. I feel like more than ever, we are kind of immune system obsessed. There's a cancer angle too, like more immunotherapies for cancer. So I feel like there's a lot more conversation about immune system, but still people don't really get it. I feel like a lot of people think it's like a magic shield. And that's not really what it is. Like it's not completely invulnerable. It needs to be trained. Everyone's is different. Like everyone's immune system is kind of like a fingerprint. So like there's a lot of stuff online now, like, oh, you're going to boost your immune system. Well, any allergy person can tell you a boosted immune system might not be your pal, or
Right.
autoimmune people. Like,
Yeah.
you might not want to boost.
Balance is what we're going for. Balance is what we want.
Yeah. So that's a concern that I have going forward, is like, how can we get people to better understand this really complicated system that, I'm not going to lie, I mean, I researched this book for 5 years and it took me a long time to kind of wrap my head, and I still don't have it fully wrapped around all the pieces that are at play in an allergic response and in any immune response. It's like a really complex, amazing system that kind of, we literally cannot live without. That is very mysterious. We didn't even have the tools to really research it that much. The amazingness is that we can now see immune cells make choices. Like we can tag them with fluorescent tags. We can watch them respond to different substances. We can try to figure out the decisions that they're making. And I'm putting all this in quotes because I don't love to anthropomorphize these things that are not human, but they do make decisions about the things they come into contact with. Like, are they going to accept that thing, or are they going to try to get rid of it? And we don't really understand. Here's a cool thing. We don't really understand why we accept anything. Like, our bodies are really, like, the immune system for a long time, we thought all it did was protect us.
Yeah.
But that's not really all it's doing. It's not like, we tend to think of it as a police state, but modern immunologists are kind of more and more uncomfortable with that as a metaphor. They said to me that it's more like a curation system. Okay. So it's like an editor. Like, does this piece of chicken get to become a part of you or not?
I mean, a museum curator isn't as intimidating of a metaphor as a police state. Yeah.
Although, have you ever tried to touch a painting? They are quite fierce.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I was thinking the movie Osmosis Jones did a good job of anthropomorphizing cells there.
Totally.
Like a white blood cell. There was a cop. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. See.
Okay, that's fantastic. Fantastic information. Okay, so some of the comments we've missed along the way. More confessionals here. I told you they're welcome. Amanda says, I have seasonal allergies that are worse in the fall for the last few years, it seems like my allergies are getting worse, and I find I have to take allergy medication daily.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing, like, I just hit my 40s, and I'm noticing in the spring, like I was always fine, and then suddenly it's like, why is my nose running like a faucet? Oh yeah, why are my eyes itching? Oh yeah, this might not just be a cold; it might be allergy.
Yeah, I have bad news for everybody. The allergy seasons, it's not in your head. They are getting worse.
Yeah.
There's a couple of reasons. One is extended season. So, as you all know, spring starts earlier. It goes like fall goes later. So the first killing frost for those of us who are allergic to ragweed, which I am one, that season can now, like here in the Northeast, I'm here in Brooklyn, that can go well into November, sometimes early December if we don't get a killing frost. So you're getting longer time periods. But then the plants are loving climate change. Some of the plants like ragweed, poison ivy, sorry.
Oh no, you mentioned poison ivy. I have it all over my neighborhood. We have nature trail that runs behind our neighborhood, and it's all I've taught my kids like you stay down the middle of the path because there's poison ivy everywhere.
Oh my God, the poison ivy is having a field day. It's the warmer weather plus, unfortunately, like some of the stuff we do to the environment, like they're usually limited because there's not enough nitrogen in the soil. Like it's a limit. But with air pollution, like when it rains, it's washing some nitrogen out of the air into the soil. So the plants have more nitrogen than they've ever had. So they have no growth limit anymore, or not the same amount of growth limit. So they're actually producing more, and they're the protein of the pollen is changing to become more potent, which means it's more likely. So even if you didn't have allergies, say 10 years ago, this more potent, so that it's more potent and there's more pollen. So what you used to be tolerating, you might not be tolerating anymore.
Yeah. Man,
sorry, I know I'm like not very positive. Like I'm sorry, peculiars, but I'm a little depressing.
you have some positive stuff in the book. We get into some stories of success, right, as the book goes on. Okay, there's so many good comments in here. I just want to throw in some of their comments. Jennifer says September 1st is the start of spooky season for me. And I can barely wait until then. So you're one of those people when the Halloween candy starts popping up in like mid-August in the grocery store. You're one of those people that gets excited, Jennifer. Back to her early comments, she said it was frustrating, and I'm grateful for new research and science always. Yes, we are. Even though messages change, science is an iterative process, and we're always correcting our mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Amanda said aged cheeses. That's what it is.
Oh, thank you, Amanda.
Bonnie said the immune system is more bouncer than cop, deciding who is cool enough to come in.
Yes, it is. It actually is. That's a great example. It is. It's deciding who is good enough to become part of us and who has to go. Yeah. Who's going to cause trouble.
And Ryan said, so poison ivy is not an allergy, but only humans are affected by it. What's the evolutionary reason for that? He says, my personal nemesis. I'll just say I'm grateful because my dog runs all through it. And I'm glad it only affects us and he can still be free and wild.
You know, it's interesting because bee allergy is not really an allergy. It is and it isn't. So everyone who gets stung, your body doesn't like it. Same with poison ivy. It's a toxin. So like it's going to react, your skin is going to react no matter who you are. But like somebody with eczema could trigger an allergic reaction. Like, so the original thing isn't. So same in my dad's case, like technically everyone reacts to a bee sting. I just got stung a couple of weeks ago for the first time, God, in a million years. Yeah, it was a bit tense.
Yeah.
It was a bit tense, but of course I reacted because I don't know if you guys know this. Here's something gross. Bee venom explodes your red blood cells.
Ooh. That's fascinating. I wouldn't even call that gross. I kind of want to see that now.
It explodes some cells. Yeah, the toxin is pretty gnarly. That they inject into you. The venom is pretty gnarly. I shouldn't say toxin because that's a separate thing. But the venom is pretty horrible. So poison ivy is similar. It's not a true allergy. Yeah. but it's still annoying.
It reminds me, my son did get his first, I think it was a wasp scratch. We'll call it a scratch, not a full sting. And that was another moment as parents. Same thing with the peanut butter, where you're kind of sitting there like, let's keep an eye on him for the next 12 hours. Let's see if anything. He's fine, but you're like, okay, we're gonna keep an eye on this for a while.
Nervousness with any of the bigger allergens. It can be really scary. That's why a lot of people don't actually ever find out if they have a true allergy. A lot of people with food allergies, they never go through, excuse me, they never go through the double-blind placebo challenge. Like, they don't do those challenges because random challenges, because it's so scary to ingest something. So you have to, not only you have to be at a medical facility just in case you have a bad reaction, but then especially if you're testing a kid, you're knowingly giving them something that could send them into anaphylaxis. So as you can imagine, especially most parents don't want to put their kids through that. So they'll just do a process of elimination with a professional food allergist to kind of get a grip on it. So that can be really challenging because, we don't really, I get asked a lot about, do we really know how many people have allergies? And no, we don't, because it's really challenging to get accurate diagnosis. And most people never see an allergist. They just, like a lot of you probably are like, yeah, I have allergies, but you've never actually gone to get tested. So we rely on self-reporting a lot, which isn't great. And especially for food allergy isn't great. So we are basically just doing our best guesses at how many of us have these issues.
All right, we've reached the halfway point where we have to play some music. And normally, Brandy would say, cue up your questions while the music's playing. But you guys have done a great job. There's lots of good questions in here. We might have to go speed round or something in the second half of the show. I will while I pull up the music here, I will say, so going back to this whole, is bee venom actually an allergy? Is poison ivy actually an allergy? I think at the beginning of the book, you kind of like ask people like to define allergy, and like nobody quite nails it. It is a difficult thing to kind of just give a straight definition for.
Yeah, for the professionals too.
Yeah,
it's not exactly easy. Like, there's some debate about whether or not eczema is an allergy or not, or asthma is an allergy or not. And most people will say yes because it uses the same mechanisms. But, like if you're exercising and then you get asthma, that's not an allergy, but it is using this exact same process that oak tree pollen or grass pollen will do to trigger that same asthma.
Yeah. Interesting. All
Super
right.
interesting.
All right. So Cord Ravenswood is back. We haven't heard from Cord in a while, and he has got a fun song for us themed around the book Allergic.
Cord Ravenswood, peculiar in the field. I'm in Van Meter, Iowa, stalking the Lock Ridge Monster. Unfortunately, something else is stalking me.
Snizzle, snazzle, snoozle, snuzzle, sneeze. All these here irritants got me down on my knees. Snizzle, snazzle, snoozle, snuzzle, snoo. My mucous membrane sure knows what to do. Is it a sensitivity or an intolerance? I don't know. All I know is I feel a sneeze coming on. Snizzle, snazzle, snoozle, snuzzle, sned. Maybe today I should just stay in bed. Then I could snizzle, snazzle, snoozle, snuzzle, snore. This air quality is looking pretty poor. Is it a sensitivity or an intolerance? I don't know. All I know is that I feel a sneeze coming on. In 1819, they first appeared on the scene. We read all about it in New Science magazine. I should be more dirty, I use too much Listerine. Or maybe the fault lies deep in my genes. Is it a sensitivity or an intolerance? I don't know. All I know is that I feel a sneeze coming on, and my eyes are itchy and red, and it's harder and harder to breathe, and my thoughts are fuzzier than usual. Oh.
All right, the wonderful Cord Ravenswood, everybody. Yeah, we don't. Ryan's right. Ryan said cord goes power chord. We don't get a lot of electric guitar on this show. Our normal Hearts band, Charming Disaster, is acoustic. Cord usually plays an acoustic guitar. Susan Huang is usually on the piano. So yeah, we don't get a lot of electric guitar on the Peculiar Book Club. That was a nice change of pace. Susan says, "Nicely done, Cord." Contains dynamite contains cordite. Is that, Liam, was that a quote a lyric you liked in there, a rhyme you liked in there? Okay, so we've got some great questions here. Cord actually hit on something. Boy, he really does his homework when he writes these songs.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was legit impressed.
But one of the things in your book was you mentioned the pollen count, and actually, like, you want to talk about an imperfect science. The pollen count is literally somebody counting pollen on a strip of paper or on a slide. You want to tell them a little bit about your experience?
Yeah. So I went to Cincinnati, which is one of the worst places. If any of you are in Cincinnati, it's one of the worst places for allergies in the country.
Oh, okay. You were quantifying that. Okay.
No. It's not one of the worst places overall. It's one of the worst places for allergy sufferers because you're in a valley. So the air gets trapped, which means the pollen gets trapped. It's not a great situation for allergy sufferers. So I went there because there's also great researchers there doing a lot of work on especially respiratory allergy. And I wanted to see, so I have a friend there who's a PhD in chemistry, and she hooked me up. So I went to see their science department, their state air quality people, and I watched how they do it. And I was just shocked at that this is how we still do it. So I had read pollen counts were invented by Charles Blackley in 1875 or something, like late 1800s. And I swear to God, if we dug him up, he would have no problem
picking up right where he left off.
Yeah, he would be like, "Oh, you guys are still doing it this way. Okay." I'm not kidding. So what they do, what he did originally was he coated slides in a sticky substance and left them in a field at around nose height. And then he collected them and looked at them under a microscope and literally counted pollen. So what we do is they usually put them on top of a building, a roto rod, and it spins around for a minute. I believe, like, it depends on the site. The place I was, every 10 minutes it spins, and
right,
all day.
You said if it spins too much, it would collect too much pollen.
Too much, right? So it can't spin constantly. So they set it up to spin occasionally. And then someone climbs up on the roof every day, collects the rod that is still coated it's clear, it's coated in an unguent, and they take it down under their microscope, and they sit there with a book of all the common pollens. And so obviously the more you do this, the better you get at it. But they had me try it just for fun. And they stain this so you can see the pollens clearly. They're stained.
Yeah.
And they had me just look at one little section, and they literally sit there with a sheet and they go 10 oak pollens, 20 elm pollen. And then that's how you get your little score for they then put that out in early in the morning. So it's always
and it's yesterday.
day, it's yesterday's. Yeah. So you're always one day behind. You never get that day's pollen. There's a machine that sucks in, like there's a bigger, fancier, more expensive machine that Cincinnati could not afford that sucks it in and it coats a spinning disc. But again, there's no, like, you might be thinking, well, why can't we just train AI to do this? I'm telling you, you should, just for fun, I know you guys are all geeks like me, you should look up pollen grains and what they look like, because they look so similar that even AI would struggle. You really do, like, this takes years, and it also takes human brains, because like an AI might not understand that, like, oh, there's no Chinese elm here. They might like tag something wrong, because of course, like all oak pollens look a little similar, but so they just, that's the other thing, is they just count general, like they're not specifying which oak. They're just saying, oh, oak is high today. In some places, they just say tree pollen is high today. Yes, thank you.
This is what it looked like? Okay.
Yeah. So people are like, you know, okay, so that's a, you know, oak. Oh, that's a maple. Oh, that's grass. Oh, that's mold. We can't count that. Like most places won't count the mold. So you're like, you're looking at all of these things. And then you're giving a general rubric to people out. Cincinnati actually does break it down, because they feed their data to the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, which does ongoing research on children's allergies and asthma. So they do a better job than I'd say most metropolitan areas do, because they have a partnership. But for most of us, you're just going to see trees, grass, and you don't know if it's like, maybe you're allergic to ryegrass, but you don't know if ryegrass is high. You just know grass is high. So we're all kind of guessing all the time. And most people confuse, like, that's not air quality. So when you look,
right,
it's totally different. So when you look at your app and it says air quality, that is, you know, nitrogen, carbon monoxide, like that is like that. Those are the pollution, other, the fine particulate matter. That's what you're looking at there. Those also impact allergies, though, because they can give, they're like cabs for pollen. So when you suck in like diesel exhaust, they actually, you can deliver the pollen deeper into your lungs. So there's a nice little relationship between air pollution and the development of asthma. I know. See, I'm so cheery, Davey.
All right. So Kristen asked about, she had two questions asking about some new research. Is there any research being done in metal nickel allergies? That's one of my biggest ones. Or is it not interesting because it's easier to avoid? And then she also asked about, you briefly mentioned plastics and allergies. So metal, nickel, and plastics.
Right. There's not, I mean, I don't know of any research being done specifically on metals, because they tend to be contact allergies. So if you can avoid it, that's the best thing. In general, basic research on allergies is helpful for all allergies. So in that sense, yes, like the more we understand about how our skin reacts to things, it will help us with no matter what is coming into contact with us. So yes, there's ongoing research into skin barrier and the mechanisms around how our the immune cells in our skin respond to things. So that will be helpful, but nothing specific. And the plastics is interesting because there's not, I mean, it's so new. And I think one of the first questions researchers are going to look at is how the immune cells look at plastic. Right. So if you have microplastics in you, like just like anything else that comes into our bodies, our T cells have to make a decision about them. And I don't have any idea about what, I'm sure there are people looking at it. At least I hope that they haven't been defunded and they're looking at it.
Yes.
Not to get political, but I hope that they are still looking at that kind of thing, because it makes sense to me intuitively that it's definitely going to intersect with our immune system, because like I said, our bodies have to make a distinction. Now, plastic should, like, it doesn't have any, like, is it an antigen? Like, does it have anything on it? Like, most antigens are proteins, so there's nothing there. Like, it's a chemical, not a protein structure. So mostly our allergens, the things that are triggering us, are mostly proteins, but we are also allergic to chemicals. So like some people do have chemical allergies, especially for the skin.
Yeah.
So I really don't know. It's going to be it's a question that I am really curious about, that I'm going to be keeping my eye on, though. So if I ever have to do an update, like they sometimes reissue a book and they're like, what's new? That's definitely going to go in there.
There you go. All right, Kristen, she's keeping her eye on it. Leanne asks, astronauts are screened for allergies. Chemicals used in spacesuits are a concern, as well as exposure to lunar dust. Any insight into this? We all might have to leave this planet sooner rather than later and find somewhere else to live. So this is a could affect us all.
I mean, that's part of the interesting story of our immune system, is it's a very ancient system. Like, it's one of the first systems that comes online. So like some of the cells involved in our immune response are 500 million years old. So they grew up, so to speak, or they evolved with a certain exposures. Like they know certain things from their time with them. And so we have created, I forget, I used to know this when I was doing more of these. I used to know, I think there are like 46,000 man-made chemicals. Like that's like a lot of different things to introduce to a system that's 500 years old. Like, we're running, I often say, I've said it 1,000 times, it's like you were still running Windows 97 on your laptop. Like, and no possibility for an upgrade, because our evolutionarily, like, we are so slow, like we evolve so slow, but we are throwing all of these things at our immune system. So like lunar dust, like we've never, like that's something new. So everything new that our immune cells come into contact with, they have to make decisions about. And they're overwhelmed, which is why, people develop allergies over time. Like, so it's famous, like, people in the medical profession, I don't know if any of you are out there, you develop a latex allergy because of the repeated exposures. So your immune system was like fine with it, but then, every day, multiple times a day, like your immune system is like, screw this, like, and starts to have an irritation to it. So there are so many things, like if you think about it, just even us sitting wherever you are right now, what's your body in contact with? Your clothes, what did you put on your skin? I have makeup on, I put shampoo in my hair, you're breathing in things. Your carpet, if you have carpet, is emanating things. So all our bodies are in a constant conversation all day, every day, 24/7 with everything around them. So anything you throw in there that's new, they've got to make a decision about. So it makes sense that this is a concern of anyone at NASA, because we don't know what we're going to come into contact with on a planet that is not ours. And we don't know how our bodies would react to those things.
I mean, that's basically a plot for the sci-fi writers, right? Like, an astronaut goes out, brings something back, and then, the whole planet falls into plague.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or sneezes themselves to death, or or goes into anaphylaxis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. One more question, and then it is gonna be time to quiz the author. She's very excited about this, everyone.
You guys, I never would have agreed to this had I known.
All right. So Amanda Johnson said, what are some current bits of misinformation related to allergies? One I see that drives me up the wall is that if you take the same allergy medication for too long, your body becomes used to it.
Yeah, that's totally wrong. That is not at all accurate. I think there's a lot of confusion between an intolerance and allergy that drives me up a wall. So people might have an intolerance to something like gluten, or milk,
Milk,
but it's not
lactose, yeah.
it's not a true allergy. So they will say it's an allergy, but it is not. That drives me up a wall. An intolerance is something else going on. It's not your immune cells. Like an allergy is it's only ever your immune cells are reacting. So if something else is going on, it can't be classified as an allergy. It has to involve your immune cells. So that's a problem. And then the other big misconception is that the skin test that people get. I see all the time people posting like, look at all the things I'm allergic to. That all it's testing for is sensitivity. So you can have a sensitivity to something and not have a true allergy, which means like maybe your skin is reacting to tree pollen, but actually your nasal cavity is tolerating it just fine. So these are 50% false positives. You may as well flip a coin.
And you went through a journey with those, and you've told us in the book. Yeah, you went through a journey with that.
Because my body, like some of us produce more or less IgE, which is the antibody that drives this whole bus, and it's the top bouncer. And I have historically low levels, so some of us won't react at all. So you'll get a false negative also sometimes. Especially if you have lower levels of IgE or not as many mast cells, which are the things that produce the histamine response that you get. So like I said, every human, their immune system is unique as a snowflake. So everybody's going to respond differently. So that drives me bananas. So just know that what it's testing for is you might go on like, so a sensitivity, it's like, you might say, well, why do we do that then? Because you can rule things out. The false negative rate is lower than the false positive. So you can kind of rule something out, but also like sensitivities can turn into allergies. So like say you do have a tree, but your nose, but then the pollen changes and suddenly you do develop the allergy. So it's a clue like, well, maybe you should pay attention to this. Like it's something that could become a problem later. So that's a big misconception that people have that drives me bananas.
Gotcha. All right, Leanne, I told you we're right up our alley here. Leanne said all this is just so fascinating. So you are in the right place for all this. All right. Speaking of IgE, we reached the point where it's time to quiz the author. My original idea was to quiz you about IgA, the grocery store chain, but I thought of something way more interesting than that. So one of the things, speaking of the scratch testing and speaking of some of the testing you went through, one of the things you mentioned is food challenges.
Yep.
Well, obviously a food challenge is to see, how your body handles that food for an allergy. I decided to take that one step further. There are some really famous food challenges out there at restaurants. So the quiz is all about, it's 3 questions about famous food challenges at restaurants. And the Peculiars are here to help you out. So they'll put their answers in the chat. You can lean on them, but you are the final answer.
Oh, God.
So the quiz is called Welcome to the Food Challenge. So,
oh, my God.
3 questions. They are multiple choice. Everyone knows about the world famous 72-ounce steak challenge from the Big Texan. But did you know you have to eat more than just the steak? To complete the challenge, you have to eat the side dishes as well, which include, and for audio listeners, this is going to be a lot to hold in your head, but A, is it a baked potato, a shrimp cocktail, a salad, and a roll with butter? B, is it a plate of fries, a mozzarella stick, green beans, and a biscuit with honey? Or C, is it a bowl of baked beans, mashed sweet potatoes, corn on the cob, and a breadstick? What is the side dish that you have to eat with the 72-ounce steak within an hour to complete the food challenge from the Big Texan?
All right, I'm gonna talk myself through this. So I'm going to you guys can help me. My tendency is to go for B, and here's why: because of the biscuit, because it's Texas.
Okay,
that's what I'm thinking.
So Jennifer's guessing A.
A.
Leanne guessed B. Susan's in on A.
And she has an El Royo. She has like a.
Oh, in her logo.
Like
yeah, there you go.
El Royo. So I'm thinking Susan might have an in.
Okay. Kristen said, "Are we voting for our favorite combo?" Because I would pick C.
All right. Well, now I'm gonna have to go with Susan because she's got the Texas thing in her I don't know. A roll with butter does make sense, but a shrimp cocktail?
What do you think? What do you think?
Oh, damn it. But green beans is such a southern. Oh, this is so hard.
I think this proves that I know how to put together a menu. I think
No,
that's really
it's
what it
true.
proves. Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Final answer
B.
is.
I'm going to go B.
Go B. Okay. She's going to be. The answer is yes, the shrimp cocktail. It's A.
Damn it.
It's A.
Oh,
And
my
there-
God. I
you
should
can-
have trusted Susan. I'm so sorry, Susan.
Yeah, you can kind of see in the picture there. I love that it's a roll with butter. You can't skip the butter. You got to eat the butter. too. You got-
Shrimp cocktail threw
get
me.
it all
Like,
down.
what is that about?
I don't know. I would ask. Can you switch that out? Can we do something else in there? All right. Question number 2. This one is I'm not a big seafood person. This one was hard for me. At the Acme Oyster House in Alabama, and there's a few along the South. Normal orders of oysters come either as a half dozen or a dozen. But for the oyster challenge, how many oysters must the challenger eat? Is it A, 5 dozen, which would be 60 oysters, B, 10 dozen, which would be 120 oysters, or C, 15 dozen, which would be 180 oysters? I think this
just
is
tell
also
you,
within an hour.
As a public health person, this is making me very uncomfortable.
Ryan says you don't want an Amarillo shrimp cocktail.
I bet I don't. And also, shrimp is one of the top. It's in the crustaceans, shellfish, one of the big 8 allergens. So, I hate this. I don't want to think about this one. It can't be 15
Amanda
dozen.
gets B. C. Jennifer said C because it sounds disgusting.
It can't. Yeah. I mean, are they really trying to make it so that you can't do it? Because then, C, right? But do they really want people throwing up? Wouldn't you throw up if you tried to eat 15
a lot of these they like say you can no purging, like you can go to the bathroom but someone
I
has
don't
to
think
go
it would
with
be on
you.
purpose. I think
Like,
would, I think your automatic get this out of here would start. Fine, I'll go with C too, just because who knows.
All right, the answer is yes, it's 15
Oh my God,
dozen.
that's disgusting.
You can see the plates there. Look at them stacked up. Oh my God, 15 plates.
Oh my God.
You do get some sauce, I guess. I will say that the leader, let me share my screen really quick here. Let me share on top of a share here. The leaderboard, 43 dozen.
Oh my God.
Somebody ate 43
Brad.
dozen an hour, 42, a couple in the 30s, and then everybody else is at 15. So some crazy person went in there and just,
wow.
I don't even want to know.
That's scary. Especially
Okay.
since, like public health people don't eat raw oysters, people, just FYI.
Yeah.
Because of the Vibrio. I'm not taking that risk.
Jennifer says, excuse me? Susan said,
hey, my friends do not eat oysters, like really don't love oysters, but also will never touch anything with mayonnaise at any, like just pro tip from public health practitioners. If you are at an event and they have anything with mayonnaise, like potato salad or something, you skip that shit.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay, we're not skipping dessert, which is what this question's about. At Fat Sal's Deli in California, they are known for the Big Fat Fatty Challenge, which involves a 30-inch garlic hero loaded with cheesesteak, pastrami, cheeseburgers, chicken fingers, mozzarella sticks, bacon, fried egg, French fries, and onion rings. And you can see the picture of it there. But that is not the only challenge they offer.
Oh my God.
What is the dessert challenge? And again, for our podcast listeners, it's a little bit wordy here, but is it A, the Big Fat Cake, an entire round 9-inch double layer chocolate cake that you have to eat by yourself? Is it B, the Big Fat Brownie, an entire 9x13 pan, a single brownie with chocolate chips, walnuts, and 6 scoops of vanilla ice cream on top? Or is it C, the Big Fat Shake made from 30 scoops of vanilla, 30 scoops of chocolate ice cream, pretzels, cake, candy, cookies, syrup, and 2 cans of whipped cream?
It can't be that one.
What do you think the dessert challenge at Fat Sal's Deli in California is?
Oh my God.
I will tell you, we had a
deli. It's a deli, so I would guess B because that's something a deli could do. But then they have, I don't know.
I will say we had a place at Ohio State. I did my undergrad at Ohio State, and we had a place that did fat sandwiches. So it's basically any junk food you could think of, like in a hoagie bun. But those were like 3 things, not this.
My God, I'm gonna go with B.
Amanda says B only because C would make you puke from all the milk. Jennifer says C, always room for ice cream. Ryan says gotta go C. Leanne's on B. A is taken from the Matilda movie.
Oh, nice. And you said you had kids, so yeah, I'm gonna go with B.
All right, she's going B. The entire brownie with 6 scoops of ice cream on it. The answer is, it is the big.
Oh my God, no!
It is the milkshake, and there's.
Oh my God!
There's a photo of it. I
do appreciate that in every single example, there was something that causes allergies.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice.
Jennifer says, "Who are these people?" This was just scratching the surface. There was a list, like a top 12 list. I could have kept going all day.
I gotta tell you, does any other country do this? Is this just us?
They were definitely, yeah. I believe they were all U.S.-based restaurants on the list. I didn't see any international challenges. Maybe in Canada you might get like a maple bacon challenge or something.
Wow, this is crazy. Well, that was okay. I don't know what I thought when you said there was going to be a quiz. I was like, oh my God.
We like to have fun here. We like to have fun on the show. Okay, we are at the hour. There were a couple speed round. Amanda asked, what's with Skeeter syndrome? Mosquito bites are getting worse and worse.
I mean, that's just a histamine response. So it is an allergic response to the when mosquitoes bite you, they inject you with their saliva, which contains an anticoagulant. So your mast cells in your skin are responding to that by releasing histamine.
I'm that guy at the campfire. 30 mosquito bites. Nobody else has more than 2. I'm that guy.
And depending if you're more like if your skin does not like it, you have the bigger welts. You know how some people get it just almost nothing, and then other people it looks like
a golf ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess this will be our final question. Is there anything you had to leave out that you wish you could have included? Bring on the gross, says Jennifer.
Oh God, did I not include something that? No, not really. I kind of went there. I didn't include some of the more weird stuff. Like there are people who are allergic to water, like on like their skin, and there are people who are allergic to the sun. Like
they're called vampires.
There were some really weird shit that I came across that people were allergic to. Like, so theoretically, your body could, like anything it comes into contact with, if it triggers your T cell, theoretically, you could become allergic to it. So there were some really weird allergies out there, but I was like, I'm not gonna do all of that.
Well, it was a very thorough book. You covered the history of it. You got us to modern day. You told some patient stories in there, which I find that gripping. And in these kind of very medical, very technical books, to have those human stories in there too.
Yeah, because I do feel for lots of people poo-poo. That's why we don't talk about allergies, because it's not cancer. That's what I got. Every time I tried to ask somebody, they'd be like, why do you want to talk about this? It's not cancer. Yeah, but it, for all of you who have them, it affects your quality of life. It's like, and for some of the people who have more severe allergies, it's life-changing. They're really kind of miserable. So I wanted to take that seriously and show their stories so that we start taking this stuff more seriously, because it is a sign that our bodies are not thrilled with what we're doing. Our immune systems are really not happy with us right now.
Well, we are very happy with you. You wrote a wonderful book. Thank you for joining us. I think we can all agree, Peculiars, that Theresa is one of us. She fits
I
in very well
definitely
with our glow. She's got more stuff coming on the way, so follow her on her social media channels and all that, and stay tuned for what's coming next. And Brandy will be back next month to take back over. Our captain will lead us again. And as Brandy always says, thank you for joining us at a place where if you're weird, you're family.
You got the blue bottle blues when you wake up in the night. Don't make a big mistake, 'cause you can never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote.